Welcome to Rule of Thirds, a program on the Screen Refresh Network where our goal every episode is to select a different topic and create a memorable list of our choices. For this episode, I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by the rest of the Screen Refresh crew, Dean and David.
Buenos tardes.
I'll take S words for 500, Trebek. That was a terrible Sean Connery. I forgot when I started it that Sean Connery said it, and I just went with whatever.
I'll take S words for 500, Trebek.
Yeah, I was just like, I'll just rough guy, I guess. I don't know.
And our topic today is covering our most memorable. It's supposed to be swords, but I guess S words as well. Swords is an S word.
Wait a minute. Are you serious about S words?
No.
Okay. God, you had me for a second. I was just like...
We're just having a mini competition. Who can think of the longest S word? The longest and most complicated one wins.
I mean, I think Mary Poppins has that one covered.
I think so, too.
Oh, that is an S word. I forgot about that. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
What does that mean?
It's said in the song. I'm sure all the Disney and Mary Poppins fans are rolling in their.
You don't know the word? I thought we were just leaving it nameless. The supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yeah.
It means.
Does it mean anything? I thought it was just like maybe it's like a Hakuna Matata. What a wonderful phrase! What. I want to see that crossover. The new Planet of the Apes and
implies all that is grand, great, glorious, splendid, superb, and wonderful.
So kind of like want to use that in a sentence now, just like general conversation.
That is the Oxford Dictionary first records of the word. The word was popularized in Mary Poppins, in which it's used as the title of the song, defined as something to say when you don't know what to what you don't know what to say.
Wait, it was popularized in Mary Poppins? It didn't originate from?
No, because it was popularized in 1964 with Mary Poppins, but the first use of the word is in 1931.
Wow, I feel like we need the more you know soundbite right now. I figured it was just something they made up for the movie, like the song.
The Sherman brothers, who wrote the Mary Poppins song, have been given several conflicting explanations of the word's origin, in one instance claiming to have coined it themselves based on their memories of having created double talk words as children. In another instance, they wrote, when we were little boys in the mid-30s, we went to summer camp in the Adirondack Mountains, where we were introduced to a very long word that had been passed down in many variations through many generations of kids. The word, as we heard it, was supercalifragilistic expialidocious.
This has been S words.
The letter of the day is S.
But yeah, swords. Tim is still on a mini vacation, and we were throwing around ideas on what we can do. And I thought, you know what? Originally, I was going to go with sequel, which was another S word.
Oh, fuck. So we're doing swords?
I said swords.
Oh, fuck.
Wait, what did you do? Oh, you did sequels?
A sequel.
Sequel swords.
We could still do the sequel.
I mean, I have the sequel. I have a pretty quick go-to sword that I can pivot to. I can talk about it.
Okay, you sure?
Yeah, sure.
Because I mentioned it in the chat last night. Like, we're gonna do swords, or the other night.
Did. Yeah, and then I saw S words, and I just thought they were all jokes because we were doing sequels.
We can do sequels next month.
Okay, that sounds good.
Good, because in the poster I kind of alluded that as a teaser, so that works. But yes, swords, be it in video games, movies, television, you see them often and are a lot more recognizable than guns. And they are always they're almost like their own character, I want to say.
Mm,
Obviously, they don't have lines, but they gain as much reverence and just popularity as the characters themselves. Sometimes Excalibur being like the most famous one of the lot, but over the years, through pop culture and just fictional writing and movies and everything, more and more swords have become more popular over the years. So figure why not dedicate an episode specifically to them. I know it was kind of tough to think of like my go-to, and I have several honorable mentions, but at the very least, there's a lot of them, and some of them have actual names, and some of them are just like it's this person's weapon. But David, would you like to go first?
I would love to go first. So, when coming up with my favorite sword, there was a couple of obvious ones that I didn't want to do because I thought like everyone will think of this sword. So I went back a little bit. This is not obscure at all. It's just, I did a little bit more thinking. And so my sword of choice is the Sword of Destiny from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, if you don't remember, at this point, it was a while ago. It was a 2000 martial arts action movie with Chow Yun-fat, Michelle Yeoh, Ziyi Zhang, and Chang Shen. Just an awesome, like super classic martial arts movie. Like it does the whole high flying wire fighting that I think a lot of like Eastern movies got to be known for, and this was kind of a return to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the center of the movie is the sword. Kind of the plot of the movie is Chow Yun-fat is like an old veteran warrior who's deciding to retire, so he like is giving up his legendary sword that's like indestructible and forever sharp. And like the sword itself, it's really cool. It has like all this like inlaid jade and stuff. But so the whole plot of the movie is someone steals his legendary sword, and it's him trying to get it back because if it falls in the wrong hands, it could be deadly. And what made this one really stand out to me is there's a whole fight scene between Michelle Yeoh and Ziyi Zhang, where Michelle Yeoh is trying to convince Ziyi Zhang to give the sword back. And like they're in a dojo, and in this, Michelle Yeoh is like a incredibly prominent martial artist. And she's like fighting Ziyi Zhang to try and get it back, and she keeps grabbing different weapons from like the wall because it's a huge dojo and there's just weapons everywhere. And she grabs like all these different swords and pole arms and keeps coming at her, and like will do like 2 or 3 attacks, and then Ziyi Zhang will just eventually just cuts through it, and it's just like over and over again. Like Michelle Yeoh, she runs and she grabs a different weapon, starts fighting, and like the sword cuts through it. She grabs another one and she's fighting, and it cuts through that too, and it like keeps going and going, and then she eventually gets like this giant like it's honestly it's like a 4-inch thick iron maul, and it's like fighting with it, and it's like super heavy, and like is fighting with it, and then Xi Zhang just like cuts through it and like manages to escape. And it was just such a cool dynamic fight scene that stuck with me, where like you have this like super flexible Chinese style longsword, and it's just like cutting through all these different weapons, and you see Michelle Yeoh is like getting super frustrated that like like I'm a much better fighter than you, but you keep winning because you have this great sword and it's not fair. And it's I don't know, it's a cool story around that, because like Xi Zhang is like this young upstart who wants to prove herself, and she's just like relying on the sword doing the job for her, and she keeps getting in these fights and just like barely makes it because the sword is so good. And it just really stuck with me. I'm also just like a big fan of old martial arts films, and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is just a really phenomenal one. That if you have any interest in like Chinese martial arts, it's just so cool. And again, like the sword in the movie, it looks cool, especially since it is like those one of those flexible steel swords where they can like manipulate it, and it like has like almost like a whip quality sometimes, where like they're literally like smack someone with the side of it as like a disarm, and like you see like the wobble and how it bends and stuff. It's really cool, and just a great movie in general.
Despite how people would think a sword should be like, solid and rigid, it's not supposed to be. And it's kind of cool that they actually acknowledged that and built it into the weapon, that it's able to wobble
Yeah.
because if it's too rigid, it's just going to shatter on impact. So it needs that flexibility in order to maintain those blows. I'm looking it up. I've never actually seen the movie.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, and I never knew it was actually like about a specific sword. I never knew that.
Yeah, it has like this whole like not who done it, but like kind of mystery because the sword gets stolen by like an unknown assassin. And it ends up being like one of the main characters who was like a pretty reputable person who just, is trying to learn martial arts like on the side in secret, and like thinks that the sword will give her like the advantage to become known as a martial artist and like respected, but ends up just kind of like really just kind of ruins her life. But yeah, it's just a really cool dynamic, like kind of because how it's centered on the sword. It's just you get these really cool fight scenes, and just like Chow Yun Fat and Michelle Yeoh like in their prime, like just in the early 2000s, like just absolutely killing it. And like it's great seeing, like it's so funny, like Michelle Yeoh had kind of disappeared for a while, and then when she came back in Everything Everywhere All at Once, it was just like my brain was just like, oh man, that's right. Like I forgot. It's like her stuff is so cool and so good. But yeah, old school Michelle Yeoh and Chow Yun Fat. It's a great movie and a really cool sword. That's my pick.
I like it. I looked it up as you were describing just the scene and the sword itself, and just I was really into the hell's that show, Forged in Steel.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if they had made this one. This one looks a lot more complicated than they would normally make on a show like that. But just seeing like the show for that, and then just the craftsmanship of like the inlay that's in the blade itself, assuming, I mean, it says that it's movie accurate, so this looks incredible. It's a really nice looking sword and everything.
A fine blade.
Yeah, I was also thinking like just choosing, because there's so many like famous like Western fantasy movies that have like super iconic swords. I was just like, oh, find something a little different. Maybe not everyone remembers Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I know it was a big deal when it came out, but I don't think it's maybe one of the more remembered martial arts movies, especially one that's centered around like a specific sword.
No, it's a good one too, because a lot of other ones, it's like, as great as that specific sword may be, Dean, I hope this isn't your choice, but like the Hanzo sword from Kill Bill, it doesn't really look unique. And it's just another katana that happens to be like in the movie itself. It's like it's a revered weapon that it's very well made, but it doesn't really look anything different compared to just anything else that you may see in any other kind of like martial art movie.
You're lucky because that was my runner-up.
Oh,
was it really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry if I didn't mean I meant no offense by it.
You're lucky. It's the only other sword that came to mind that was like I have a connection to, I guess.
Is it the Urukai sword by chance?
No.
Oh.
It's also a cool sword. Looks
I guess that's
funky.
not true. I have other connections, but
Dean, what is your sword then?
I'll never tell.
Oh, okay.
I in a quick decision have landed on William Wallace's Scottish Claymore from the movie Braveheart.
Oh, that is a big ass sword.
It is a big
That's
sword.
actually huge sword.
It actually is a claymore. Holy shit.
It's 50 inches long. The blade part is 39 inches. It's almost 5 pounds. I can't imagine swinging 5 pounds for the length of those battles.
Doesn't he also like
used to
at
go
one
on.
point in the movie? Doesn't he also throw it at someone?
Oh my
He
god.
does throw it. Yeah, he throws it like a knife almost, like end over end.
I own 2 swords, and one of them is extremely lightweight, and it's supposed to be the Master Sword from Zelda, and it's very easy to, maneuver and kind of play with and whatnot. And then I have Frostmourne, the Lich King sword from World of Warcraft. That sword is at least like 20 pounds. Like I'm not trying to derail yours, but just
You are
his
derailing
his iconic shot is him holding the sword out, just like arms stretched out, pointing at somebody. You can't do that in real life. It's too heavy.
But he's the
So
Light King.
yeah, it's a video game, but on and all that. But just I can only imagine like wielding a claymore. It's just, are they even sharp?
Yeah, sure.
Just,
I mean,
I feel they don't have
I
to
don't
be
see why
sharp. You
not.
just gotta, just the weight alone is enough to cause
Yeah, I'm
the
sure
mortal
you
damage.
could do just melee damage without the blade aspect as well,
Yeah.
especially the pommel. Um, it's got. I don't know if this was common with these huge kinds of swords, maybe, but it does have leather wrapped up the blade beyond the hilt, so you can grasp it higher. I guess if you're a little bit closer in combat.
To the
Um,
the handguard.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you can hold it over above the hilt, and it's pretty much on the blade.
Oh.
It's to get more leverage on it. But yeah, I got this picture of Mel Gibson holding the sword, and it doesn't fit in the picture. He's holding it over his shoulders. But yeah, I loved this. This is one of my favorite movies growing up. Came out in '95, Best Picture winner. But yeah, this is still a great movie, regardless of how anybody feels about Mel Gibson today.
People
Still a great
change.
movie.
Yeah, I love the sword because it's almost got like this hand and a half sword quality, where like if it was someone in full armor wielding it, they would just like, because they have a mailed gauntlet, they would just hold part of it by the blade, and then just
I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah, and then just like, and because it does have like that super wide pommel, like you would just use it as a hammer. because
Oh yeah.
because you're just like, I'm wearing mailed gauntlets, it literally can't hurt me, so I'm just going to hit you with it like it's a hammer.
Yeah, you could definitely, you could use it almost like a war pick or a war axe or something. Just got to aim for the slit in the armor of the next guy. But I mean, in Braveheart, nobody's
wearing armor,
the
really.
armor is like just maybe some chainmail on the English and some leather, and then no armor on the Scottish side for the most part.
And just from the sheer blunt force trauma, I don't think even the chainmail would do anything.
But I owned, I don't think it's at my parents' house anymore. I had like a half size replica of the sword, which was still cool for me. I dressed up as William Wallace for Halloween once in
Did you really?
In college, yeah. I painted half my face blue and like splattered. I had somebody to take put blood in a straw and just like spit it in my face.
I honestly thought you were going to say though, like, you did
splatter.
it for Halloween when you were a child, and I was like, I need to see like Tiny Dean Braveheart.
That would have been awesome. That sword would have matched my size at the time. I was a real anal about Halloween costumes. I was mad that I couldn't find the exact like pattern that he wore in the movie. Like I just had to find something comparable.
Yeah,
but
we were 9 or 10.
Oh, in
Braveheart
95,
came out.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or it won in 95, or it came out. I forget.
95.
Okay.
May 19th is when it came out.
Okay,
released.
yeah. So it won the award the following year in 96.
Yeah, I was gonna say 10 might be a little young to watch Braveheart.
It was on TV. Honestly, I've never seen it. And that's the reason why I haven't seen it, was because I know the cultural impact this movie has, but it was always edited for television, and I refused to watch that version.
Because it's a violent movie.
Oh, it's
like,
yeah, it is. It's very violent. It's worth your time. It holds up. It's a good movie.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why. And it's not that I don't want to see it. It's just, it's a time and a place, and watching it on TV edited is just, it's not doing it justice.
Absolutely not.
It's a yippee-ki-yay mother trucker kind of.
Yeah.
That kind of treatment.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but I love, like, there's plenty of other blades that I think that do come to mind, but this one I just had an earlier attachment, and I didn't think anybody of you were going to say it. So William Wallace's Scottish. William Wallace? Wallace is Scottish claymore.
Your Sean Connery is leaking.
William Wallace.
Oh, it's a long movie too. Like,
yeah, it's almost
cut for TV. That's going to be like a full day watch.
That's the other reason.
I'm like,
that's the other reason
like
why I never
watching
watched it.
TBS's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's 2 hours 58 minutes. Like, that's going to cut to like 3.5, 4 hours on TV. That's
Yep. Yep.
It's
It
worth
was not
it.
a
It's all good.
not a short movie. I'll see it soon. I'll have to. I've always wanted to, so I shall. I will.
It's a worthy Best Picture winner. I don't know what it beat, but I mean it's deserving of. It's a good movie.
Well, my choice. I had a few honorable mentions myself. Frostmourne was one of them, but the sword that I actually always kind of really enjoyed quite a bit was actually the Sword of the Daywalker from Blade.
Oh, yeah.
It just looks like
Pretty
a normal
sweet.
katana, but the special thing with that one was he had a trap built into the hilt, so that if you don't disarm it, it doesn't eject, but like blades come out of it, and it can either severely cripple or damage your hand. And what's his name? Donald Logue in the movie picks it up and he's like, "Hey, I got his sword," and then he didn't know about the thing, and his you see his hand like burst into a blood mist.
Yeah, it was like a full-on explosion of his hand. Like, I don't know what I was expecting when like Blade goes through the narrative of like talking about like what his sword does, but like I did not expect a full just explosion of his hand.
But I've always really enjoyed that sword. It's small, it's lightweight, it's able to just, I think it's made out of silver, or it has like a silver edge so that it can cut up the vampires really easily in that universe, so that I don't think you ever see him use it against humans, but at the very least, it slices, it dices, it completely minces those vampires up into a bloody mist. So, or no, they kind of exploded a little bit, didn't they? Like into fire and ash a little.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because when he uses the sword, it's like the same effect
up.
as like staking them.
Mm-hmm. And then he always had it in like the very center of his back in a sheath that went through his trench coat. I always loved that whole look. And that sword always stuck with me over the years. And I've always wanted a replica of it, but it's just not the same. And then even like having like one of the things I've always wanted to do was like have a wall of like iconic weapons like on display kind of thing. And just I feel his would not be able to stand next to, William Wallace's great sword. It doesn't look right.
Yeah,
and it just looks like another.
It's super low profile.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. Like looking at it again, like the hilt of it almost kind of looks like a lightsaber hilt.
It does, and I think subconsciously that might be another reason why I enjoyed it so much too. But I never put those two and two together. But it does. It looks a lot more modern, and it looks like a katana that's made by someone not from the East.
It's almost like not cyberpunk, but the design seemed futuristic, like the inlay of the sword itself.
Yeah, I feel like that's like Blade's whole aesthetic is like he almost looks like he's from the future. But like he's like a time traveler who went to the future and then came back with cool stuff. Because even like I remember he has like these dual bladed like throwing knives that also like have like this cool curvature to it. Like all of his stuff has like really cool like inlays and curvatures and like I don't know. His whole thing has like such a neat aesthetic.
Yeah, his glaives were really cool, and even the stakes made out of silver, and just the way that the design of it, he was amazingly on how his true origin being like a 70s groovy kind of look to him, and then modernizing it in the 90s to be what he is today, and just like all black, leather trench coat and the sunglasses. Wesley Snipes is Blade, and it's just everything that he was able to do in that movie and all the props they gave him, it was just a perfect storm of just, this is exactly what that character needed.
It's on Amazon for $62.
Hell yeah.
Go for it. I don't know what it's made out of. Oh, aluminum and wood. Okay.
Perfect. And it even comes with the back hilt or the back sheath.
Right.
I was
Hell yeah.
really curious if it was Weta that made the blade weapons. I'm having trouble trying to find that info, but
I don't think so. They weren't made in. I thought Weta Workshop wasn't created until Lord of the Rings.
I feel like they were created out of because of the movie.
oh, were they? Okay, I wasn't sure. Because they're like such like character pieces that like the team behind it.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just really curious about the team behind it who did it, or really just all of the costuming, like specifically for the Blade character. Because it's like such an intense, like not just his costume, but like all of his accessories, including the sword, like putting that all together. I feel like that's something that like Adam Savage would have an episode about on his YouTube channel.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, he's definitely made a bunch of stuff there too. If I order it now, it'll be here by this coming Tuesday.
Oh man, do you think it has the pop out blades?
I don't think so. There's only one picture, which sucks. And no one talks about no one talks about it. Just a couple cosplayers, and it looks good on them. Like it does look pretty good.
Weta was actually formed in 1987.
Oh wow,
no kidding. So it is
worked
possible they might have done it.
Hercules and Xena, but they started working with Jackson early in his career, and then Weta FX was formed in 1993 and is a separate company, but the same. I don't know, same name, different company. The end.
Oh, and then for $50, I can get Blade's like vest thing. Oh
$50?
man, $50.
That seems cheap.
And it comes up to 4X and as small as 1X small, as large as 4X and as small as 1X. So that's awesome. That's cool. I don't know. It just might.
It's on Etsy. Etsy's got some too.
Now, if only they have a Wesley Snipes Blade wig, because like his hair was nearly as iconic as everything else going on there.
It was
that hard edge flat top he has going on.
It's pretty cool. They never had a scene of him like going to the barber.
He didn't. I think Whistler did his hair.
Whistler, yeah, maybe.
The most precise barbering. Just does it with the sword. That's how he gets the flat top.
It's part of his training. If he fucks up, then he doesn't deserve it.
Takes a full swing at his head. Damn, those are 3 cool blades.
It'd be cool if we had a studio and we can put up our stuff. Swing by the Screen Refresh office and you'll see them. You'll know the price for one of them. And that concludes our episode of Most Memorable Swords. If you like what you've heard, please drop a review and rating and subscribe to us on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you get your podcasts to help us out. I know everyone always says this, but likes and subscribing really does help the channel out. We have social media. I know we're busy, you're busy, and I'm sorry that we're not always good at pushing ads, but you can still find us over on Instagram at Screen Refresh, and please smash that like button and subscribe button on YouTube at the Screen Refresh Network. You can shoot us an email at screenrefresh@gmail.com so we can hear what your top 3 choices would be or to suggest other topics to make episodes on. So for Tim, David, and Dean, this is Nick. You take care of yourself, and you can catch us next on Rule of Thirds, airing every 3rd Monday of the month, and also our sister podcast, Don't Open This Podcast, every 2nd and 4th Monday of the month.
You know, it's funny. I just thought of another famous movie that's named after a sword.
I'm sorry. Before Dean, that's from Home Depot.
The Home Depot. You can get a William Wallace sword on Home Depot for $60.
There's over 1,000 available.
We've been trying to get rid of these since 1996.
It's 41 inches long. It's like the full size for $60.
But also, you can get a miniature one.
It's the kid size one.
The kid size, the half size Dean had as a kid.
Anyway,
what were you gonna say, David?
No, I was gonna make a Blade Runner joke, but
No.
Another
damn
famous
it!
sword
I would have
movie.
laughed at that.
Blade
We
Runner.
could have played it.
Haha.
They didn't have any blades in that movie.
Not a single
Maybe a
blade.
knife. Was there a knife?
I don't think there was even a knife. It's because they all ran away.
Oh, it's just metaphorical. They run along the edge of a blade. Like their mission is so hangs on a thread.